Well, it's been a lot of good news, cherry news from Edo State. Well, some people would think that it is it leaves more to be desired. But then the Supreme Court verdict has come out dismissing the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Asue Ighodalo, which challenged the election of Senator Monday Okpebholo as governor of Edo State. Reactions have been abundant as a result of this, and a five-member panel of the court, led by Justice Lawal Garuba, yesterday ruled that the appellants failed to prove allegations of overvoting, non-compliance with the Electoral Act, and other irregularities. Now, the conversation moves on to what does this spell for the Edo people? What are the steps forward towards ensuring reintegration, and does this mean that the Edo State government would be able to do more? And will the different parties be reconciled towards ensuring that the growth and development of Edo State is paramount? Joining us on the program is Chief Andrew Enwanta, Special Advisor on Legal Matters to Edo State Governor. He joins us virtually. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good afternoon, and to our viewers at home, I greet all of you specially.
The judgment by the Supreme Court again re-echoed those statements made by the appeal court and the tribunal, and then we're now seeing a 3-3-5 victory for Monday Okpebholo. A lot of believers think that this is a reaffirmation of the notion that the governor actually did win the election. Do you think that this corroborates what the people believed?
Absolutely. It is not just belief, but it's a matter of fact. The election took place on the 21st of September last year, and INEC pronounced the winner, and that is Senator Monday Okpebholo, who won convincingly, met the constitutional requirement. And I must quickly say that what happened yesterday was the question as to how the governor won. The question people don't want to have an answer to, or want to maybe make a further inquiry into, is why PDP lost that election. They went into that election divided. Though the party is still divided now, because now they have two factional chairmen, two critical committees with two ESCOs running simultaneously. And I must thank one of them that congratulated us specially, and as I also advised members of their party to join hands with the governor in developing the states. Then the other factional chairman, the Asue Ighodalo faction, he was there at the Supreme Court, Anthony Azigbemi, and I must commend him. He said that himself and all those that came to the court, believe that the Supreme Court has given the final verdict, and they had joy in their hearts. Those exact words. So with that joy, we're expecting to join hands with the governor in developing our states, because the mistake they made was to think that they had a petition. As we put it, a Ferrari without an engine. If you want to go into a car race, Ferrari without an engine, because they didn't call credible evidence, and that is what the Supreme Court said, that the two grounds of the issue of non-compliance with the Electoral Act as it relates to the allegation that, sensitive materials were not entered into specific forms, and the issue of overvoting, that they failed to adduce credible, admissible evidence. That was what the Supreme Court said in proving their case. So the two grounds of the petition were struck down by the Supreme Court for failure of the appellants, that is Asue Ighodalo and the PDP, in leading credible evidence. And the court is not what you present is like garbage in, garbage out, as we say of computers. They didn't call credible evidence. They were challenging about 395 polling units. They called only about 4 to 5 polling unit agents. So how do you now establish overvoting if you don't call sufficient number of witnesses, not just witnesses, but credible witnesses? And also the dumb beavers machine. In law, such a documentary, or rather such an evidence is known as real evidence. So you don't just dump a machine that you wanted to use in establishing overvoting without calling oral evidence. So I wonder what they were thinking. Courts are not miracle workers. It is what you do before a court that will convince the court. And for civil cases, it's on the balance of probabilities. Then in criminal cases, because in election petition, you are making allegations, though they didn't add that particular grounds, because that the election is invalid as a result of, corrupt practices was not a ground of their petition. But that is what they said by overvoting. So the standard in such, an instance is proved beyond reasonable doubt. But what the court said is they could not discharge that burden, and as such dismissed the appeal. So for us, it's not just victory for the government, it's victory for the rule of law, it's victory for democracy, and there are people who give the government the mandate. So moving forward, we are asking the PDP, particularly the candidates they put forward in that election, Aso Ighodalo, to join hands with the governor in moving our state to where we should be as a state. Because
Chief Andrew Enwanta, I was quickly going to ask you concerning the pattern of Supreme Court judgments in the country. A lot of commentators and reactions told the line that even before a case of this magnitude gets to the Supreme Court level, some people might begin to already insinuate or permutate what the outcome would be. Reactions, if you were to go to social media now, you see a lot of people saying it was already decided that this is going to go this way. Do you think that, or do you share that line of thought? Do you toe that line of thought? Or you simply believe that this is the credible thing to have been done and the verdict is reflective of what the Edo people wanted?
I prefer to view that thinking from the angle of law, because I'm a lawyer and I'll speak as such. When you have concurrent findings of a lower court, that's a trial court, and a court of appeal, the practice is that it's difficult at the level of the Supreme Court for such a decision or such a concurrent finding to be upturned, because you find a very clear case where the petitioners fail to discharge the onus on them of proving their case, right? And at the tribunal, it was a 3/3 verdict. The tribunal was unanimous. The matter was when the aggrieved persons, that the petitioners, appealed to the Court of Appeal. It was also a unanimous verdict. The Court of Appeal did not just stop there. They not even said the first ground of the petition was not proved, because you cannot, or rather, the ground of the petition was such an incongruous ground, because you cannot in one breath say the election was invalid for non-compliance and overvoting in the second ground. Then you are now saying for an election you are saying was invalid on the basis of non-compliance and overvoting. You should be declared the winner of such an invalid election. The Court of Appeal, they consider that as blowing hot and cold. And besides, the beavers machines that they dumped, you don't dump a real evidence before the court. It was real credible evidence. It's like you take a child this and you are now trying to get details about that missing child by abandoning that child. You must sort of inquiries. Name, what is your name? Where do you and all of that? You just dumped beavers machines on the court. So what were the Supreme Court to have done, with such, they were not, the makers of that, machine. They never operated that machine. For me, that was not smart. So it was on the basis of that, the tribunal dismissed their case. It was on the basis of that, the Court of Appeal dismissed their case 3/3. It was on the basis of that, the Supreme Court also dismissed their appeal 5. So we don't want to believe that Edo people, because Edo people are very satisfied with that verdict. They voted massively for our candidates, Mondo Bevolu, and it was declared winner by INEC, rightly declared so by INEC. And that is what the Supreme Court affirmed yesterday.
And post-judgment now, as we begin to wind down the conversation, how much pressure do you think is on the leader now, that's the governor, Senator Mondo Okpebholo, towards ensuring that he not just governs, but he's also the peacemaker, especially when you look at the situation in Edo State, where some people might still be feeling disenfranchised? How much pressure is on the governor right now towards ensuring that he doesn't just govern, but he's also a peacemaker and brings all facets of the state together?
Just as the popular saying goes, uneasy is the head that wears a crown. For our boss, the governor of Edo State, he remains focused. His duty now is to provide the dividends of democracy to Edo people as he's doing. Fixing roads. For the first time, we'll be having flyover bridges in 2 strategic places where we used to have traffic congestion in Benin. The Mobile Ronald Park ASICs, the Sapler Road at Adesua Junction ASICs. So this project will benefit everybody, whether you're a member of PDP, whether you're a member of APC. R1 billion has been set aside for bursary for our students in tertiary institutions. Some of these students will have parents who are members of either PDP, ADC, AD, or so development is something that is a common denominator. So if you have good roads, everybody, irrespective of party affiliation. If you have good hospitals, as the governor is trying to fix, everybody will benefit. Security, which the governor has made the fulcrum of his 5-point agenda. The anti-courtesan law is in full force. The governor is implementing that law. That's made our state office and the activities, the violent crimes that we saw when we came in have reduced drastically. The problem of kidnapping, the governor is also dealing with it. So when we have a safe society, everybody benefits. And that is why the governor, as a peacemaker, has said for those in the opposition willing to join us, is ready to receive them. And next week we'll be receiving some defectors, including some top people in the main opposition party, the PDP.
Andrew Enwanta, Special Advisor on Legal Matters to the Edo State Governor. Now that the whole legal tussle is laid to rest, a lot of Edo citizens would be hoping that Governor Monday Okpebholo would step up and continue to discharge the dividends of democracy and bring up to speed the issues of development in Edo State. Thank you very much for making out time on Niger Delta Today. We appreciate your views on the program. That's the size of Niger Delta Today. Many thanks for staying tuned. My name is Xavier Robert, and I'm wishing you a terrific weekend. Catch you again next week for another fresh edition of the program. Bye for now.